Hey, Wentworth World Entertainment and Lanterns episode 2 is here. Good God, is this episode just your typical run-of-the-mill Hollywood BS, including white privilege. I'm not messing about with that part either. This entire episode takes place in 2016, so if they wanted to go like, let's set up the mystery of Hal Jordan being shot in the head, forget about it being anywhere answered in this and stuff, even though we kind of already have the answers. This very much is kind of just Hal Jordan getting John Stewart out of the way. You're very much realizing how much of pretty much a villain and power hungry John Stewart is. Hal walking around a town that's just ridiculous and sets up stupid things and pretty much starts making a lot of things quite obvious. So, manhunters are brought up in this episode. It's told to John Stewart that, hey, there's a manhunter in this town and stuff. He gets captured by the aliens. Now, this is where it goes all over the place. Because we're shown that the aliens at the beginning were pretty much villains. Yeah? Because it's like the guy got all sinister and was all like, hey, you know, one like blink in my mind and I can blow everything up and blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, they're bad guys. And then the same group captured John Stewart in this episode, and turns out they're not actually the bad guys, supposedly. Yet they're still like, hey, we need to find this manhunter and blah blah blah, but if you don't contact us within 48 hours, we'll have to go to the town and blow ourselves up. And it's like, are you good guys, or are you not good guys? Hal sends this, oh boy, excuse me, and that kind of cut out of nowhere. We'll get back to this, but he sends, basically, Hal sends John back to where Hal lives to get the lantern because he needs to charge it. He also needs to feed his pet, which is, you can't really see it there. Even if I move myself, you can't see it. It's a plant. This meat-eating plant. Earl, it's called. But, and it's when he's back there that he gets captured by these guys. So these guys are all the same aliens who are on the thing. Now, this is how the episode starts. And Hal wants to teach John how to fly. So he gives him the ring and tells him, okay, fly. He's like, that's it, just fly. He goes, yeah, just fly. He goes, for me, I'm a pilot, so it just comes instinctively. So just do the same type of thing and fly. And rather than him flying, he constructs the bird. But he manages to keep the bird alive, even without the ring and when he travels. Okay. So they're trying to make it out that because he's able to do that, he's the better one and all this type of BS. This right here. I'm skipping over a lot, but I'll come back to it all. So John comes back to the town and he goes straight to a cafe or a diner, and he's orders a decaf coffee, which takes him he has to think about it. He's like, can I get a decaf? It's like, how did it take you that long, dude? But who's sitting over in the corner? Yeah, Grandma. And she is a grandma, in case you were wondering. If you think people are just taking the piss because she seems old, no, she's literally a grandmother in the show. So, obviously, he goes over. And this is where they have the conversation about white privilege and whiteness. And she basically infers that Hal Jordan to John Stewart is simply his white man. You don't even have to take my word for it. There you go, there's their conversation. White men have the privilege of being eccentric. She also says they also have great security and all this shit. And then, of course, John says, so you'll put up with some deeply weird white man? And she responds before she gets to this. with, no, I love him. And then she says, oh, hey, how's your white man? Sorry. Keeps happening. Keep getting cut out with a little cough. Yep. That's a real conversation. Yep, that's a real conversation. So, as I said, he goes off. He sees the suits in Hal's wardrobe. He's on the phone, by the way, to Hal Jordan, who lives in a fucking mansion. And he's like, hey, how much do lanterns get paid? And Hal's like, not enough. He's kind of like, and he goes, oh, I got the house off a rich dude. And he apparently he's lived in it for like 8 years, I think he said, and yet, like, he's no furniture or nothing in it. He sees the suits. He goes, finds the box that the lantern is in. Hal tells him it's voice activated, so you have to put me on the loudspeaker. He opens it and he's like, it's pitch black, there's nothing in there. And he goes, oh, it's a what did he say? Like a vortex type thing. And he's just to put his hand in and reach around. The birdie flies in and there's a shot in here somewhere off him searching for it. He finds the lantern. But he does bring the lantern back as well as the suit. However, that pretty much comes to the end, where he brings back all that shit. And he gets captured and, you know, and you very quickly realise these people are aliens that are after him because they can do weird things. He still ends up getting captured. Like, he gets captured, escapes, and gets captured again. And then that's, you see it in the episode, the trailers with the thing stuck to his head. That's them giving him the memories of their world and people being slaughtered and wiped out. They even call it a Holocaust by a manhunter. And this is where they explain about a manhunter. And they're trying to think, does Hal know about the manhunter and is he hiding it? Well, all that's happened. Hal is walking around the town. And there's nobody in the town. Like, literally, he's kind of like looking around and nobody is there. So he uses the last bit of energy in the ring. He flies up and notices all the cars are parked outside a hall. And he goes, oh, that's where you are. And the ring runs out of power and he lands flat in his face, which the image is in here somewhere of him on the ground. So he goes, he walks into the thing, he's like, oh, he's talking about me, blah blah blah, and they're trying to figure out should the game continue and all this bullshit. Oh yeah, before he actually goes to the hall and finds them, he goes back to the stadium and he walks through the metal detector and the metal detector doesn't go off. And he's checking his belt and he's looking at the ring. He kind of looks around the pitch and stuff like that. And then he goes back and he walks back through the metal detector and it doesn't go off again. So he's kind of looking at them and he's like... So he goes to his car. Now this makes no sense to me. He goes to the car. He opens the boot trunk for the Americans. He takes why am I blanking on the name? Bloody wrench. And I thought, is he just going to try and walk through it with the wrench because that would set it off? No, he uses the wrench to pull the front of the car off, like the radiator, and carries that through it to see if it goes off. That's like, dude, why didn't you just walk through it with the bloody wrench? No, he walks through it with the radiator of the car. And it's like, okay, and it doesn't go off. So then he goes to the thing, and as he's walking into the hall, and there's another metal detector he walks through, and that one doesn't go off either. That's when he falls flat in his face, and you see the car, it's missing the grille at the front. So that whole scene, the talk is stupid. You know, the lawyer comes and says, hey, got the assault charges dropped for you. Which makes no sense for the fact that he didn't actually hit anyone in the bar. He got his ass kicked. He didn't hit anyone. So why was he up for assault charges? But, by the way, the thing with the metal detectors that I found stupid as well is, if there's no game on, why would the metal detectors be on anyway? Surely they would only turn them on when there's a game on. But don't worry. Oh, there's where he's searching for the lantern, and his little birdie flies in. But so he's talking with the lawyer. The lawyer keeps getting louder, and they get asked basically to piss off and all this crap, and nothing really is happening in that meeting. So Hal goes out, and he gets pulled over by the sheriff, who just girl bosses him, and he wants to go and see her father-in-law. So does this part happen before that? Yes, this part happens actually before that moment. He goes to the morgue. This is actually when he's on the phone to Hal, or to John, when John is looking for the lantern. He goes to the morgue and he finds the aliens, and that alien dude back here, this one, yeah, definitely don't watch this with your kids, because he pulls this guy out and his dick is hanging out. Full on frontal. Again. Yep. And it happens more than once. But he takes the body, he puts it in the car, and he goes in, he takes like 2 or 3 more bodies. And why he takes this many, I don't know, because he drives to the stadium, drags that body out, and that's why he's on the floor there where you saw him. He walks through the metal detector with that body, and the detector goes off. And then he goes back the other way, and he falls over, which is where that image is. And the detector and he notices there's like this weird little ball camera thing up, and he realizes, that's interesting technology. Which this also doesn't make sense. Where did it come from? So now they've set up that it's an alien detector, not a metal detector, which means they knew the 4 people that were shot at the football game were aliens. So, by the way, there seems to be no questions being asked as to who shot them. But he goes, gets pulled over by the cop, the sheriff, and he wants to go and see her father-in-law. She's pretty much like, hey, I'm in charge here, blah blah blah, all this type of bullshit. She agrees to take him on one condition: he says nothing, lets her do the talking. Of course they go there, and of course he does the talking. So they walk in, the guy rides up on a horse, he starts giving him a load of shit. He's like, hey, look, you've obviously something more on this compound. What the hell have you got? Because the technology, and this is the best part, he says, throughout the entire galaxy he's been, he's never seen technology that advanced. Alien species are flying around the universe. The cosmos has a police force. There's 14 species of aliens on Earth that can't be detected by anything on Earth. And yet, the most sophisticated piece of technology he's ever seen in the universe is a metal detector that can read aliens. The guy clearly doesn't give him answers, tells him to get off or he'll be shot, and they shoot him. They shoot him in the shoulder, and he basically wakes up in the hospital with the sheriff sitting there, and the sheriff asks some questions and says, like, who's Sinestro? And he's like, I'm not able to talk about it. That's top secret. And she's like, well, it's not that top secret. And she pulls out her phone, and on her phone, she's able to read that Sinestro was a lantern who went nuts, blah, 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 did all this shit, got arrested, sent off somewhere, everything else, blah, blah, blah. And it's all like, really? You sitting there on your phone can have all that information? She has him handcuffed. And this is where it also gets really stupid. So he asks her the question, and well, he's about to ask her, and she goes, you want to know why I didn't give up jurisdiction as soon as we found out, like, that it's aliens? He's like, yep. And she's like, well, it's a small town, it's my town, I want to look after it and all this shit. And then she asks him something, and she's about, can I ask you something? And he says, you want to know why I haven't left? And they're like, yeah, and he's like, I've got a gut feeling there's something more in this town and all this shit. And when they're leaving the hospital, he has to agree that to her, for her to let him go, by the way, is to any situations like that, he lets her do all the talking. But as they're walking out, he has to sign, obviously, out the discharge book. But his name is already in the book, which made no sense. No date or anything, but his name is the only name in the book. And he's like flicking through the whole book, and his is the only name in this entire book. And they're walking through the hospital, she's talking. By the way, this town is not as small as they keep saying, oh, it's just a small town. Because, like, it's a massive town. Like, it is massive. And the fact that, like, every single person in this town left all their jobs and stuff to go to that town meeting at the hall. But now they're walking through a hospital. There's no staff. He's looking in all the rooms. He goes, like, where's all the patients? She's like, well, it's a small town. And then he sees all the brand new MRI equipment and all the equipment for surgeries and stuff. And they're all still in the plastic. He goes, hey, this stuff looks like brand new and has never been used. And she's like, yeah, it's a small town. Like, it's like, it's not that fucking small. You know, people would have to get sick and stuff. This is then when John Stewart comes back and yada yada yada, and he brings back the suit as well. And Hal's like, why did you bring back the suit? I told you not to bring the suit. And then he asks him about the bird. Now, Hal, or John brings up, like, hey, what's a manhunter? And he's like, where did you hear that? And he's like, hey, these guys. And he goes, it's above your pay grade, Junior. And he's like, the fuck it is. And he doesn't explain to him what a manhunter is, but they're back and forth and all this shit. He charges the ring, which takes 2 seconds. He literally just puts it in, says the quote, and it's charged. So then he asks, like, hey, what's with the bird? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you know, you physically manifested this bird. What's the significance of it? And he goes, it's just a bird. And all this crap, and he goes, but these guys told me, and this is where he gets real cocky and arrogant. And he's like, these guys told me, like, you know, the only person who could do that greatly to keep a construct alive, even without the ring, has to be the most powerful, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even get a hoorah off you. And Hal just kind of goes, well, hoorah. This is really where you see, like, John is just power hungry. He just wants the ring. He wants the power. He wants the glory. He's a fucking villain. But he buggers off to his room. Hal instantly runs in and puts the suit on. And then he flies off. And this is the end of the episode. He goes, I thought he was going to the Lantern's home. Orion or Orin. I can't remember what it's called. Starts with an O anyway. I don't think it is. It seems to be like a prison planet that he's actually on. But he arrives and he's walking through this prison place and he gets up and he goes up and sure enough, he goes to see Sinestro. And Sinestro's saying, he goes, Sinestro? And says, what can you tell me about the Manhunter? And Sinestro's like, well, that would be one of 2 of your greatest threats right now. But why don't you tell me about John Stewart? And that's where the episode ends. It's like, what the fuck was this? And Sinestro, yeah, he's got the purple skin, yeah, he's got the mustache and the slick back hair, but he doesn't have the weird eyebrows or the kind of enlarged head. He's just a purpley pink dude. It's like, bit of a letdown. The suit also, when he's on that planet, it looks more green. Very, 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 very dark green, but it looks more green than it did when it's in the wardrobe in there. But it's like, this whole episode is built around John Stewart not knowing whether he can trust now Hal Jordan, and all he wants is the power in the ring, and now they're basically saying, oh yeah, Hal's just his white man. Now here's the thing that I said they're making pretty obvious. The Manhunter, it's clearly one of two people. It's either A, the sheriff, right here, or because, oh, by the way, I did forget to say, when they're walking through, he's saying, in the hospital, he says to her, where are you from? And she goes, what do you mean? Like, this is my town. And you go, no. You might like this town. You might be trying to defend it. But you're not from here. Where are you from? And she says, very casually, Gotham. So they name drop Gotham. She's either the Manhunter, or, and this one I think they're making a lot more obvious, she's the Manhunter. I'm telling you now, it's one of these two. It's either her or it's the sheriff. It's absolutely 100% one of these two. It's not the dude, as Nerdrotic likes to call him, the Taylor Sheridan villain, because he's been a villain in a few of Taylor Sheridan's shows. Oh, by the way, this show actually does take a shot at Taylor Sheridan, because the town or the ranch is called the Sheridan Ranch. Yeah. But that's episode 2 of Lanterns. An absolute nothing burger that moves the story nowhere, answers nothing, doesn't go back to 96 or forward to 2006, doesn't seem to be asking the question like, hey, who actually shot these goddamn aliens? No question as to why does the town have these alien detectors and nobody bat an eyelid to it or ever mentioned them. It's fucking retarded. And of course, that conversation, because that's a real conversation. So that's episode 2. Another dog shit boring episode that just pushes white privilege and how John Stewart is the better one of all of them and all of that crap. So if you watched it, let me know what you think of it. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and hit that hype button and all of that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.